Hello everyone, welcome to Email Etiquette. I'm Denise Humphrey. I've met quite a lot of you now. I'm sure you've met me over the last few years. Before we do anything, I'd like to thank our sponsors. And Svelto for last night. It was excellent. Some excellent singing, some not so excellent singing, but very entertaining. Really good stuff. So just a little bit about me first. I did this last year and I didn't put anything about myself, so I thought I'd better do this year. So I'm an office specialist since 2000 and I'm self-employed. Billy No Mates, you're all my friends. I've been an MCT since 2008 and my favourite subject is Excel. I'm a bit of an Excel geek. I'll just keep that a little bit quiet. Now here's my contact details. You can contact me on LinkedIn as well or Facebook. On LinkedIn I'll have a sad Excel gang which you're welcome to apply to join. It's only for the elite. But it's for people to ask questions, silly questions, not all the technical questions, so I can help you. So it's not high level. Okay. So, before I decided to do what should I present today, I was a little worried because everybody's so technical and so much knowledge. So I thought I'd choose something a little bit different today. I have been doing a session on email etiquette over the last year over several countries, and I was very aware that it was a very British point of view, and so I've been gathering information from different countries as well to get your point of view. Some of the things that upset people about email is just cultural differences, so I've taken that into account as well. I am very interested in your point of view, so if you disagree with anything, that's fine. Just let me know. We can discuss it. If there's not time, then we can discuss it afterwards. And I like to add your little notes to my presentations for future reference, so just in case. Some of you may recall in the summer I sent an email around asking for information from anyone who'd like to tell me what upsets them about the email, and it was always the same kind of things that came up no matter what country. So I have taken some quotes from some of the MCTs here, and I may mention your name if I mention it today. Okay. So the first thing, this comes up all the time, the subject line. How many of you receive emails that aren't even got a subject line at all in it? All the time. It's horrible, isn't it? Really, really horrible. And we receive so many emails. How many of you get more than 100 a day? And how many of you get more than 100 a day that are actually for you and for something for you to do? The percentage of actual stuff can be quite low though, but I guess you're quite lucky. I get a lot of nonsense. I get CC'd into all kinds of stuff that you just don't want to know. It's tough. But subject line, so many of them are left empty. So make sure that your subject line matches the content. This is all about in an ideal world. How lovely would it be if the person sent the message with a proper subject that only included the subject matter inside the message. Try to send one topic per message. That would make the subject line easier. That might mean you have to send several emails, but at least you're sending a specific email about a specific subject. And if you are sending a really long message, it would be quite nice to summarize at the top of your message what the subject is about throughout the message. Just as a little idea there for you. Because it's so easy to miss important stuff, because we're all so busy, it's become a little bit of a nightmare. So try to keep it short and to the point. Have any of you experienced when people change the subject line halfway through a conversation? It's now suddenly become a different subject. Really, they should start a new message, shouldn't they? And it's a new subject, because it is quite annoying. I was given a suggestion from Tom Ruenberg from, I believe he's from Norway, that when he does email training, he suggests that you put things like FYI for your info in the subject line, or to do in the subject line, reply, etc. What do you think about that? Would any of you use anything like that as a way of making it more? Yeah, or maybe in the first line of the message, inside the message, to say for your info, so you know you've got to do something or not straight away. Okay. So that's something to think about. Attachments. Now, attachments can be a bit of a nightmare for various reasons. Is it the correct attachment? Is the attachment really large and should it be somewhere else? Is there somewhere in your company or somewhere better to store these large documents and send a link to the document? Could you put it on a SharePoint site? Something like that. That's true. Session's point is about his company culture is to send large attachments, so everybody follows suit. They do the same thing. So sometimes it is a case of changing the company culture, which is a big thing to do. You've got to get somebody on board that wants to make the company change, so that helps. Problems with large things is that they can block the network, can't they? Some computers can't even download it. How do people receive their attachments? Are they getting it on something like this? Can they read it? Can they download it? So you have to think of these types of issues. So make sure they can actually open them. How do they download the attachments? Some people actually don't download their attachments until they get to their computer. They have their settings so that they just get the first line and they don't even see the attachment. So, is it the correct attachment? This is pretty common. That it's not the correct one. Or you haven't attached it in the first place. How many times have you had an email that somebody's trying to recall the message because the attachment wasn't attached? And the recall doesn't work mostly. It can do in a perfect moment of time, but it doesn't really. So you just got to send an apology and say, sorry, here's the attachment. But yeah, so some things that people make mistakes about attachments, they maybe leave track changes. Has anyone received an ugly document in Word? It's got red squiggles and underlines. It's because the person who sent it has forgot to turn it off, and etc. Doesn't look good to you. Could your attachment be a PDF, which is makes the attachment smaller, and mostly they can't edit it, so it's a bit safer, maybe. Sometimes you might send an Excel spreadsheet and it's not in the correct sheet on the spreadsheet, which worries some people who are scared of Excel. They don't know how to get the document that they need. So some little things to take care of before you send the attachment. Yeah. Now, if your company has problems with the size of attachments that are being sent, you can control it, I believe. This is not my area of expertise, but you can get your IT guys to fix that kind of thing in the configuration policies, etc. Hyperlinks. So, things to check when you've got the hyperlink. Have you sent the correct link? Can people actually open it internally or externally? We often forget about that, even internally, because sometimes it's on a drive that people don't have access to. Another thing, I got this from, I think it was Torsten from Germany, and he was saying that when you copy things from the internet, you have to remember to remove the hyperlink that is attached. If it's a picture or something, there is an automatic hyperlink sometimes on the picture that you've pasted into your email, which in some companies means it automatically becomes spam. So there's something to be aware of when you're actually attaching hyperlinks, to make sure it's not a hyperlink if you don't need it to be so. Okay. I'm sure you've all got many stories about reply to all, forward. Do you remember in the good old days, we never used to forward messages without asking permission? Do you remember that? That's probably a long time ago, but we used to ask. It was not automatic. And we forget that email is like replacing letters. We've become very lazy and don't think too much. But always, always take care when you're replying to all. You know what that's like, the cheeky message. You say, no way, I'm not doing it, do it yourself. It's gone to everybody. This kind of thing. But when forwarding a message, this is the biggest thing really in this slide. You've got no control of who's forwarding your message. Yes, Mark. No, it depends on where you picked up the message from. In the Office 2013, from your I see. Yeah. That's normal. It's not a bug, as far as I'm aware. So when you just do reply, normally it just goes to the person who you sent the message to you. But when you do it from the sent mail and you do reply, that goes just to yourself, unless you do reply all. So that's a very good point, Mark. Thank you. It's worth noting. No, because as far as I'm aware, the Outlook reads the sender as you. So you're replying because you did it from the sent. You sent it. So reply to you. Because it picks up all the names that were on the email in the first place. Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. I'm not sure why they've done that, but it's a very good thing, actually. So, thank you. Okay, so when forwarding, some of the things that we don't think about is the offence you could cause to somebody in another country, because the language that you may use in your country could be seen not so friendly in another country. So you've got to think about what you wrote in your message could be forwarded to someone else in another country and upset them. So just to be aware of these things. Are you expecting your email to be treated as confidential? Is there anything confidential about an email? But at least if you mark it as confidential, at least they should respect that. That's the best you can do, really. Do you all know how to mark an email as confidential? Do you know where it is on the system? It's actually quite hidden. So if you didn't know and you'd like me to show you, I could show you another time. So I wouldn't like to show you all now. But if you'd like to, I can show you how to mark it confidential. Now, this is quite a big issue. You have to be very careful when you're deleting. When you're forwarding on a message, sometimes the stuff on the trail that you could do with tidying up a little bit. You may have had a discussion backwards and forwards between some people, then you forward it on to the next person, and the stuff that you were discussing shouldn't really be for their eyes. But you want to keep that stuff because you might need to keep the trail and the proof of what happened, but sometimes you have to think twice before you just forward it on. Quite often, for me, I often eventually get the email that's been discussed between a client and somebody I'm working on behalf of, and the conversation has gone on for days and days, questions here and there, and it eventually comes to me and it just says on there, Denise, can you deal with this? And how rude is that? There is no instructions for me what that actually means. I have to go through pages and pages of stuff and try to work out what's the bit that I have to do. It's just time consuming. Does anyone you get this kind of... It's common, isn't it? It's just very rude. If you try not to do that to anyone else, at least try to summarize for them. Have a look at this part and can you do that? That would be very nice. Excuse me. And something that I picked up along the line, sometimes these things are okay, but if somebody sends you a list of questions, do you feel it's okay to put your reply next to each question? Like, here's my answer, here, here, here. What do you think about that in general? Do you like that idea? Or do you prefer to say at the top, here are my answers, 1, 2, 3, 4? What's the general consensus? Do we like it? Hands up if you like to have it at the top. Or in line? In line. I think in line is great for a business email, but people actually do this on friendly emails now. How are you? How was the wedding? Was it great? The wedding was good. We had a nice holiday. Yes, thank you. So rude. Maybe I've got rude friends. I don't know. Well, in a business it's okay. But So, okay. Yes. Oh, sorry, Seshan. Sorry, Mark. Mark. It just says, please treat us confidential. It's just a line. It's nothing really. They could ignore it, yeah. So, what can you do? Okay, CC, BCC. I'm not sure if you're getting my British humour on my little jokes here. I don't know. I apologise if you're not. Okay, general question to anyone. Why do you CC anyone into an email? Anyone? What's your general opinion? Why do you CC them? Why do you think you've been CC'd? Sasha? Just for information. You've got... Yeah. So no action involved in your part. Would people agree with this? Yeah? That's the general consensus, and that's how we kind of feel. That's what CC is. It's just for information, no action on our part. But it's important how the person who has received the email, when they see somebody's been CC'd, what are they thinking? Why has this person been CC'd? Now, some of the reasons are actually this. To prove to the boss you've sent the message. This is pretty common, so the boss knows I've sent this. And maybe they think you don't trust your answer, and you're sending the message, the CC, to someone else to verify you, to back you up. Going back to the prove to your boss that you've sent this message, it's sort of a little bit of a kick, isn't it? Well, the boss knows I've sent this to you, so you better do it. So that's another reason. Oh, sorry. And it could be some kind of political measure within, or cultural in your team. Everybody CCs everybody, so everybody knows about it. But it's just really annoying, isn't it, to be CC'd when you really don't need to do anything. Does anybody do anything specific with their messages that they've been CC'd in only? Do any of you do anything? Okay, so you can create a rule and it automatically goes to a CC, into a folder. And how often do you look at that folder? Wow. So that's the sender's fault, but you just don't know if there really was something in there that you should have done. Does anyone do anything else? Just, you can actually, I don't know if you know this, but you can create a rule so that when messages are in your inbox, if you've just been CC'd, you can make it change colour. For instance, it comes to you in green. If you're just in the to line, you could make it come in blue, for example. Did you know you could do things like this? It's called conditional formatting. That's something else I could show you, that because at least then you could ignore the colour for now or whatever, because it's slightly dangerous to do the folder, but loads of people do that, what you suggested there. So thank you for that. Okay. Yeah, so exactly, how do people treat the CC'd messages? So many people just ignore it because they're just too busy. We all are, aren't we? It just becomes too difficult to keep control of it. Is there any reason to BCC a message? I always get mixed answers on this particular one. Why would you do it in particular, anyone? Yes? What would you? So, yeah, so Renee does it because you want to hide the email address. This is probably the most common reason. It also helps to avoid viruses because the BCC is a little hidden. But some people get really offended if they know that someone's been BCC. They really find it sneaky because I guess if you can always think, you never know who's been blind copied into this message. Just never put anything controversial in there, then it won't matter if somebody's been blind copied into the message. So, yes.
I was just going to say, BCC though serves a really great purpose if you are sending out emails to a very
Mhm.
because then you put your own name in the two fields, you put everybody else in the PCC field. That way, if you're sending out a message to 100, 200 people, if someone decides to hit reply all, it's not going to go to everybody. It'll only go back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Seth. So yeah, when you do a reply to all, the BCCs don't get it. In older versions, I believe they did used to get it, so it could have been really bad. Yeah, but be careful if you're sending a message with maybe more than 100 people in the BCC. Sometimes it gets automatically treated as spam because the computers read all these hidden addresses and think, no, 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 this is a dodgy one. So you have to be careful with that a little bit. Okay. Yes. So- No, they don't know. No, that's right. It's, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so Peter's talking about creating a mail merge Outlook message. So it goes individually to each email, and the people don't see anyone's email. So that's a good idea. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's good. Did you have a question, Renee? No, just yawning. Sorry. Okay, my next one. Smiley faces. What do you think about smiley face? I love a smiley face, but what do you think about smiley faces on your messages in general? Is there a good or a bad? Yes. Thanks, Oshan. When you're comfortable, mostly if you've got you want to build a rapport with somebody. They put a smiley face, you're going to put a smiley face, etc. Some people really hate it. They just think, I'm not a child, I'm an adult. This is a working environment. Please don't do it. I think a lot of people were sort of shaking their head, not really liking the smiley face thing there. But some people, this is maybe a British thing, I don't know. They're telling you off. If you've got something, and they put a smiley face at the end of it, like, get on and do it now. But I love you. And you're just like, oh, okay, I'll do it. So, and text speak. What do you think about that? See you later. Do any of you do that? Is it because you don't understand it? Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but yeah, very good. In my travels on this particular subject, I've met people that said, I won't even read it. If they can't be bothered to write me a proper email, I'm just not going to bother. But it's a bit of a youth thing, isn't it? I don't know, they're very much into the speed talking. I don't know. It's replacing shorthand. No, yeah, okay. Little joke there. Sorry, no offense. Okay, just a little quick thing about the time zone. Just to be aware of it, really. Be aware of the time zone of the people. If you're working worldwide, are you expecting a reply straight away? In some cultures, they feel it's really important to reply immediately, and it could be 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in their country, and they just feel the pressure. They must reply. So just be aware a little bit about it. Are you encroaching upon their personal time? In some companies, they know this. They know they're not going to get a reply, and that's fine. But they use it as a little bit of an excuse because they've done their email today. That's okay, and off they go. And tomorrow they'll get the reply. It's fine. But just to be aware of it, that's all I'm saying here on this particular slide. Okay, spelling. Yes, sorry, Sachin. Sachin, did you know that you can actually delay your emails? You can send the email but not have it send until a particular time. This is in the same place where the secret place where the make your message confidential is. You can do this, but you do have to be logged on to do that. So if you turn your computer off, that message won't go. So it's a good thing. So when you're on a Friday afternoon and you'd rather be in the pub, you can just quickly send a message, send it at 4 o'clock, then come back, turn your computer off and go home. Nice. My chap on these little comments here, it's not Bill Chapman, sorry, it's just because it's a short name. Oh dear. So spelling, always spell check, but be careful of the grammar. It doesn't always get it right. And sometimes the word you've chosen is not spelled incorrectly, it's just the wrong word. But I can appreciate that you're translating a lot. If you're writing in English and that's not your native language, there's always going to be a bit of leeway there. And people understand that. Could the words you've chosen to use be confusing? I think if you're writing an email in another language to your own, if you have the opportunity, and if it's a really important message, to actually run it past someone who is a native speaker, take that opportunity always, because they're just little tiny things that a native speaker would pick up in whatever language you're trying to do. So I just suggest you do that if you can. Do you know what colloquialisms are? It's my biggest word of the day. But so in some, like in England, we have so many words that northern people wouldn't understand or southern people wouldn't understand, people in Scotland, etc. There's some really bad words as well, so you have to be very careful with that. And jargon, you can't assume that everybody understands what SQL means and things like this. Like, you know, hey, that's an easy one, I know, but you get my meaning, hopefully. I got recently a guy said to me, and it's a new thing that I'm picking up, that people are putting it on their messages they're sending on their mobiles. Errors are for authenticity. Has anyone seen this new comment for Jason? Yeah, it's a posh word, yeah. Please excuse the brevity, because they're using their little hand thing and they can't type. But I think it's quite sweet, but the recipient of that message thinks you haven't taken time, you haven't got the time to bother to spell check, and you've just upset them straight away. So this little comment about, I can't help the spelling mistakes, I'm using a thing, that's what it means. It's nice, but it's a bit of an excuse. You should spend an extra minute to check, really. Yes, thank you. I think it's become a bit of a trend because people are seeing people. So people are putting on the bottom of their messages, sent from my iPhone. Does it upset anyone here that they're seeing this? Do you think it... I think when it first started happening, it was about, hey, I've got an iPhone. Sent from my iPhone. Yay! But I think it's become a bit of a trend. It doesn't look very good. I think it shouldn't matter where you sent your message from. It should be spelt correctly. If you can, take the time to put proper full stops and capital letters where appropriate. And yes, Jean. You need to just change this. Can you not change that on an iPad? I don't know enough about that. Does anyone know how to change the sent from iPad? The secret place. I know on a lot of devices you can just go in and change the thing to personalise the signature. Yeah. Yeah, you want to do that then, because people get upset. Okay. Now the tone. It's just such a huge subject, the tone of the message. You can say the most innocent statement and you've upset someone. You don't even know you've done it. it's just amazing how big that is. It's in my research, so many people came back and said to me, it's the tone, I hate it. People are so rude to me on an email. And if somebody's been rude to you on an email, you're going to be rude back. You don't mean to, but you can't help it because your blood is like, oh. So if somebody upsets you on an email, please don't reply straight away. Go and have a cup of tea, have a little sit down, think about it, and then send your email. Don't do it straight away because you will regret it. So there's just so many things. The tone is so important. How do you start your message? Is it a friendly message or is it a formal message? The recipient will take their lead from you. If somebody says, hi Denise, I will say hi back again. What do you think about it when people don't put any kind of greeting? I'm picking up that a lot of people don't even get anything, just straight to the point. Straight to the point. I won't ask what nationality, because sometimes it's a nationality thing. But I don't know. Is there Shan? I hate it too. Yeah, people don't now. They just put your name, comma, and then the message. It's in the UK. It tends to be on higher levels. They just put it, and you feel like they're just, didn't you just do it? It's just a bit. You can put hello, hi, whatever, but you just take your tone from someone else. If you start with no name, they'll put no name, and it just starts the cycle. And be aware of how in different cultures how people like to be greeted. I wrote down somewhere in some countries they prefer to be called. In German it used to be Herr, whatever, Frau, whatever, until you were allowed to, being told you can call me my first name. In some other Asian cultures, it's only the surname that's addressed. In some, it's only the first name that's addressed. So if you're going to email people regularly in a particular culture, you should try to find out what is the politest way to address the message. A lot of people in Europe put dear to a person in the UK, but that's actually quite formal. It's but they think that's really informal, but it's not. It's formal. Hello is enough. So dear is more you're writing an official letter. So, but a lot of people don't know that. And how should you finish your message? Best regards, kind regards. My sister always put thanks at the bottom of her message. Just thanks. Nothing wrong with that. But you say thanks, and it's so easy to put a tone on thanks. If you put thanks and an exclamation mark, you're saying thanks. Or it's like you're saying, finally, thank you. This depends on how the person's read the rest of the message. Just the word thanks can be really upsetting. It's really silly, but that's just how it is. And some people just won't even reply. If they think that the message is rude, they're just not going to bother. They're just going to ignore you. I learnt one last night from Tiago from Portugal. He was putting on his messages ASAP. Do any of you use this? ASAP. As soon as possible. But the person that was receiving the message thought she was being shouted at. Why are you shouting at me? Because it's in capitals. ASAP, didn't know what it meant. And she's, why are you always demanding me to do these things? I didn't know that ASAP was seen as a bit of an aggressive word. It's just how we say it. So you just don't know this. Never ever send a message in an emotional state. Just don't. So something's upset you, something personal, try not to. Just go away and have a little relax. What about capitals? Do you use capitals much? People have said that to me when I've asked them what upsets you. People putting capitals. Why are you shouting at me? Well, some people use capitals because it doesn't spell check. So that's quite nice. No red squiggly lines. Yes, Mark. So they look at that word. That's pretty commonplace. Sometimes if people do things like this in red ink, and some cultures feel that you're screaming at me. Why are you screaming at me? What, this red ink? And also, the red ink doesn't always come out on the HTML. When you get the messages, it doesn't always translate the formatting. So you have to be careful with the formatting. Just basically because you could have caused offence. Okay. Okay, and so legal. Emails are legal documents, and we forget this. They can be used in a court of law. You want to keep your emails, especially when it's been a conversation backwards and forwards, but just sometimes, as I mentioned before, when you forward, sometimes you need to tidy it up a little bit. Yes, Mark? I am going to mention that, yeah. So, it's good. So you're thinking, I like it, Mark. And remember, you're representing your company. It's an official document, so. The telephone, the good old telephone. We've forgotten about it, haven't we? Poor little thing. But some people find the telephone more intrusive than an email, because at least you can open the email when you're ready to. But telephones, they're handy. You can get a reply quickly, normally, if you can get to speak to the person. And, you know, it can never replace the human touch in email. It's just nice to call someone sometimes. If I'm going to send a message that I think, this doesn't sound very nice, it's a factual message, I need to get the point across, but I think it could sound a little harsh, then I always have a phone call first, talk to the person and explain, I'm going to send an email and it's about this. So I tend to take the time to make sure people aren't upset with me. Normally you can get a reply, yeah. How many send emails to the person sitting opposite you or next door? You could just say, yeah, hello, can you? It's easy, isn't it? We're addicted. If you forget your phone for a day, how do you feel? Session. So you're saying, Session, that you call a person before, or just let them know? Okay. Yeah, that's a good practice as well to do. Good. So some more annoying stuff, and it's coming on to what Mark was referring to. Make sure you've addressed the email to the correct person. Autocorrect can be a little bit of a nightmare, can't it, when it starts a letter and finishes it and you didn't look. And so I have some stories to tell if there's time, and one of them involves this particular subject. Keep your distribution lists up to date. Always a good idea, because how many of you get emails about something you're not involved in anymore? You were dealing with that last year, you've moved projects. Yeah. Did you know that you can ignore that conversation on the ribbon? You can choose to ignore it, so you're not in the loop anymore. Yeah, Seth might be able to tell you a bit more about that, because you've quite a lot of experience about this particular button. Are you interested in the ignore button? Yeah, would you like to, Seth, do you mind?
So that there's a single subject and all of the discussions about that subject are listed underneath that subject matter. If you and somebody else are talking about something and you bring someone else in, sometimes what happens is the conversation will change. The subject won't change, but now all of a sudden the two people that you aren't involved with are now discussing something else, and you don't want to be involved in that conversation anymore. Up in the ribbon, under the conversation group, there is a button that says ignore conversation. And what that will do is it'll opt you out of that conversation. You are no longer involved, but those two people will continue talking. Yeah.
If I'm right, this basically looks at the conversation thread ID, right?
Yes.
Who we did generate it. So
That's correct.
Ties to that one field.
So if another conversation starts with the same subject line, it recognises it's a different message. So if you're worried about the button, maybe test it a little bit first. but it is a good thing. So check your autocomplete entries. Keep your contact groups up to date. Do you need to send a read receipt? Now, when you receive a message that's got, have you read it, yes or no? How many of you actually put yes? Be honest. How many people put no? Most people. And I do it quite angrily. No, like that. First of all, I feel like I'm being treated like a child. I don't want you to know I've read it. I'll let you know when I've read it, when I'm ready to talk to you. But some other people absolutely hate it, and they've set their emails to never reply. Did you know you could do that? Okay, so that's good. But there is the odd time where sometimes you want to let the person know you've read it. So what's the point of the feature if people ignore it? You know people ignore it. What's the point? So maybe you want to think about choosing delivery receipt instead. So it tells you this message was sent to these people at this time. That's your proof. You don't know if they've opened it, but that's possibly a little bit more effective than the read reply thing. Do you all know where that is, the delivery thing? Yes. Some of you do, yeah. It's all in the same place. It's a little secret ribbon that nobody looks at. Okay. Is your message actually urgent? Really? Is it? Do you all get messages from people that have got this regularly? You know this person, it's always urgent. Do you treat it as urgent? Sorry, so I always treat Sammy's as urgent, everybody. Mark. Yeah. I just don't even bother with them. What's the point of a low priority? Come on. But people do it for jokes and things, don't they? But my advice is to really try not to send jokes. Do not. It's just going to get you into trouble because you just don't know who it's been forwarded on to. It's always the same. Just don't send a joke. Do your little instant chat, but really not on the official thing. Okay, two things about the signatures. Does your signature contain graphics? Because in some computers they can't read the graphics. They get it in the language doesn't translate very well. I got this courtesy of Michael Schmitz. Did you know that in years ago this signature line was supposed to be a maximum of 4 lines? That's all, everything. Did you know that? But how many of us can actually keep our subject lines, signature lines, down to 4 at the bottom? Law helps us not do that because in a lot of countries you have to put your company name, company number. I know that's Germany and UK have this. I don't know if many other countries have this law. You have to put a certain amount of information, but you can make it small, can't you? It doesn't have to be this length, and the message is "Hello, see you at 10," with all this stuff at the bottom. This Mark. No, not the disclaimer. The information about you in your signature. So apart from the disclaimer, it used to be everything at the bottom was supposed to be 4 lines. It was just a general agreement, but not official. But it was supposed to be kept to a maximum of 4 lines. But it's impossible now. There's plenty of websites that mention about this confidentiality clauses, that they are a complete waste of time because they contradict themselves and they can't be held. This statement, this is for your eyes only kind of thing, you can't control that. That's just nonsense. It all contradicts itself. People just do it because they feel safer to have some kind of clause that it's not their company speaking, it's the expression of the sender only, this kind of disclaimer. They just do it. But yeah, most probably, yeah, because if you really studied the text, it all contradicts each other unless you can get the perfect text written there, which you may want to see a lawyer to do that if you really wanted to be really accurate about it. But yeah, sorry, did you? Well, I put it because I want to pretend I'm really green. I have a little, please print if you don't need to. So Renee's question is about what do I think about the do not print kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but you're going to print it, aren't you, if you think you need it as a backup somehow? Yeah. Did you have something, Sammy?
Eco-friendly PDF, I would like to also use it. I don't know where it's getting from.
Print it on an eco-friendly PDF. Yeah, I try not to print anything though because I just don't want lots of paper. Because I pay for the paper and I pay for the ink, and I don't want, and especially do not want all that nonsense printed at the bottom. Sorry, Renee. Yeah, this is true. What I tend to do, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I will copy the text and paste it into Word, and then I'll print it. Because there used to be a little feature that you could just select some text and print just this bit in Outlook, but that seems to have gone. I've not found it again. So I paste it into somewhere and print it so I get the text without all the nonsense. So, or I screenshot it. Foxit Reader rather than Adobe Reader. I've never heard of it. Oh yeah, Adobe Reader does update too regularly, doesn't it? So it's called Foxit. I'll make a note of that. Foxy. Okay. Okay, so that was my general content. I do have some tips, and I've got some stories to tell, but we will run out of time. So I'm just going to jump to some little summary tips for you. And I've got a little hyperlink at the bottom. You didn't notice it, next to the little cube that's going to take me to my tips bit. So is it sneaky? I just edited the template just a wee bit there. Okay, so remember, things to do that you... And some tips and things to remember. So, think about composing your message before you address it, because sometimes you just get a bit carried away with who you're sending the message to and who you're seeing the message to. So maybe write the message and then decide who you're going to send it to. Gives you a chance to get the attachments in before you press send. Okay. Try to make sure your message is clear and concise, whatever you do. Consider making a phone call or talking face-to-face. It's always a nice idea. Never put something in writing that you could regret. Never. And consider cleaning messages before you forward on to someone else, if you feel that's appropriate. Consider how people deal with the messages that they receive. Can they open them straight away, etc.? How do they open them? Think about the time zone, and try to keep your text formatting to a minimal because of the different systems people have. You lose the formatting, the lovely formatting. You may have put a phone number in nice fonts and stuff, but the person wants to be able to pick up the number straight away and call. So you be careful with things like that. Always take care when you reply to all. Put yourself in the seat of the recipient. How would you feel if you received that message? Remember that messages are, by design, asynchronous, meaning you don't know when it got delivered and when you're going to get your reply. Never send a message in an emotional state. Think of the tone and the language. Could you possibly be upsetting someone? And remember, you have absolutely no control of who they're going to forward that document onto. So never be offensive. Remember, you're representing a company, and emails are legal documents. So this is all my general stuff, and if you want to hear my stories, you'll have to come and have a cup of tea with me later. So finally, I'd just like to thank the sponsors. Oh, sorry, Tiago. Sorry, Renee. Tiago, sorry.
Write something on your body, like, wow, you can see the
Okay, thanks, Tiago. Tiago is talking about there are some apps that you can have to go with Outlook that will help you not make so many silly mistakes like there is no attachment when you've mentioned to see the attachment, etc. Is there a lot of these things? Because I'm not aware of them. And if there are, I can add them to the last... I can just add them to one of these slides, and it can go on the end of this to go to everybody if you like. Yeah. And also, I'd like to say that if any of you would like to see any of the things I may have mentioned that you're not aware of, I've got my computer here, so I can show you these little secret places where the things are. So I can show you that. And if I may, can I have just a second to suggest something? There's been a little bit of concern about this online training, hasn't there, in the last couple of days? We're a little bit worried about it, some of us. So I was going to suggest, if anybody wanted, would you like to sort of become a part of create some kind of a group where we practice online training with each other as MCTs? You're the trainer today, you're the trainer tomorrow, just to get used to the software on Link if you're not used to it. If anybody would like to do that, just let me know, and we could try and make a group together and have a meeting online one evening at a time that suits anyone, if you'd like that. Okay. But I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. I've been Denise. Thank you for listening, and see you soon. Thank you.